We're going to lead off this Thursday with very special coverage from Russia's war on Ukraine. CBC News is on the ground in Ukraine's flood disaster zone, the only Canadian news team there. It's Margaret Evans who's joining us live for the very first time, going to show us the region and the damage and the recovery effort. Margaret, good morning to you first of all. What are you seeing in Kherson?
Well, Heather, I'm in a part of the city where we're right next to its high water line. A few days ago, this part of the city would have been underwater. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder this way. There's a boat there. There are boats scattered all over this place because of the flooding. We've been spending some time this morning with the woman who goes down every 2 hours. She walks through mud to get to the river and register the water levels. But as ever in Ukraine, in scenes and sites of disaster, people are going about their business. The gentlemen just taking cover under the shade over there have been clearing the mud from the streets. This is a very tense section of town because it's not far from the river. The Russians are on the other side of the river, but they have been cleaning up all day. We saw the garbage truck go by. JF behind us, he can't see it. He can maybe turn. You can see a woman. She's just bringing cat food dishes up into that little shop behind. We've seen kittens there because, of course, a lot of people have lost their pets have lost their owners. There are all sorts of rescue operations going on in the city. Over here, you get a sense of how the municipalities trying to protect the people who haven't left. This is a concrete bunker that, if shelling begins, you could take shelter in. You see some of the soldiers again taking shelter. It's quite hot here today, but it gives you a sense of the city, which is very eerie in this particular part. A little bit elsewhere, there are hospitals, there are aid hubs for people who are being rescued. Right down here, though, we're very close to the water, and this is, of course, not the worst hit. There's about 20% of Kherson, the city, still underwater, according to the UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. That's a reminder, too, that while here they want the water to go down so they can reach people, get aid to people still in their houses. There have been about 4,000 people evacuated so far, according to the Ukrainian authorities, but some people are still trapped. But further upstream, the last thing they want is to see the water going down because there is a huge reservoir and it is responsible for the clean drinking water for about 700,000 people. And the levels in that reservoir have dropped by 70% since the dam was destroyed. Heather.
Margaret, we have heard Ukrainian officials call this both a humanitarian and an ecological disaster. It's happening, of course, as Ukraine's counteroffensive intensifies. So how is Russia's war on Ukraine affecting the recovery there?
Well, there's no doubt, Heather, that it's a pretty big distraction. And as I was saying earlier, this city is still coming under shelling. Of course, it was occupied by the Russians for about 8 months until November last year. But the Russians aren't far. They've just gone to the other side of the Dnipro River. And, we've heard about shelling taking place a few days ago as rescue operations were underway. A boat load of people trying to take elderly to dry shore and to help came under fire. And of course, there was shelling here this morning. The aid agencies that we spoke with yesterday said that they came under shelling as well during their rescue efforts yesterday. They have to take cover. And of course, it delays everything. We also saw today just some of the kind of the breadth of the rescue operation, if you like. There was a Red Cross team all the way from the city of Kharkiv, which is in the northeast of the country, has come down to help take disabled people to get them from their homes to hospitals or help centers, and they'll have to take a very long train journey. So it is a serious distraction, but I would say also that you see this across the country in the frontline cities like this one, but also in other parts of the country where towns are occasionally hit. There's a huge volunteer force that comes into play, and of course there are the municipalities, the police, many layers of the security forces. So it's a distraction, but we still continue to hear reports of that counteroffensive trying to take place. They're really described as probing operations, and we are hearing reports today that in the east and the southeast, it's not as easy as some people might have been predicting. We're hearing that the fighting there is very fierce indeed.